Okay, so there is actually one more step before we start, painting our model, and that is to actually set up the brush. So right now we have this brush that is like just a normal draw brush. In order to actually give all the variation that a skin has, like you can see here, it is gonna be quite hard to use this brush. So we're gonna have to create a random brush basically, and that random brush is what we are gonna be using for every purpose. And yeah, so first thing first, the stroke method is gonna be airbrush, so that you actually get dots like this. And we have actually created something similar with the random skin brush actually, so we are just gonna do the same thing with this one. I really hope that you remember the random skin brush. So first thing first, we need to change the jitter. As you can see, the jitter needs to be increased. And yeah, this is like you. This is just gonna be the brush we are gonna be using. Just try to make sure that you actually get the settings right. And stroke method also needs to be changed. In this case, I am just, you can see that I am decreasing the rate with the airbrush method. And that's actually the brush. Now, everything else is just me gonna be start changing some of the settings. So yeah, you can like see what I am trying to do. And this is basically it. Yeah, that's just the brush. But obviously, this video is longer, so I am just gonna be, talking something about the settings. You can just name this brush a bigger detailed brush, and we can actually start creating some of the smaller detailed brush now. I really hope that we actually make a small detailed brush because I totally have forgotten what this video had. So yes, I am like creating a small detailed brush, and I am gonna be using an alpha, by the way. That alpha is something that I've gotten, I don't remember from where, but I'll actually just give you the alpha as well. So this is the alpha that I am gonna be using, and you're gonna see how it looks. So that's how it looks. So this is not the way it should supposed to look like. So instead of the tile, we need to change the view mapping mode to view plane, and now you can see that we can actually add small little details like this. And now you can actually just start changing some of these settings to see how the brush is basically behaving. And yeah, these are the two brushes. These are the two main brushes that we are going to be using. And right now I'm just going to be changing some of the settings to see how it exactly looks. And yeah, after that we are also going to start talking about how you actually, use a color to basically fill up the whole area. So before that, I am like just still focusing on the brushes setting, if the setting of the brush is right. And you can actually just start creating hard stuff or the smoother stuff to make the stroke a bit smoother or harder. As you can see, like there are many settings that you can change, but we've already changed the main settings that we are going to be using. So yes, these are the two main brushes, and these are basically the setting. You can try and copy the setting, or maybe just experiment with your own. I've also said this sentence too many times, but yes, as you can see, we are actually getting the variation in the color, and these are the variation that are gonna be super important in the end. So that's why I have actually created this brush. And yes, I think the brush has obviously been created. Now I'm just trying to figure out which setting is actually gonna work or not. So yeah, now I am just saving the file, and we can actually start doing all the texturing. Okay, but before we actually start doing the texturing, there is one more thing that is left to do, and that is to figure out which color is actually gonna work best. The base color, we need to choose a base color so that we can actually start doing something. And before we do that, I'll actually explain you the shader. As you can see, I am using the random walk fixed radius subsurface scattering version. So this is super important. The subsurface is actually 0.012, and if you were to just look at the size of our face, you can see that this is actually uh, accurate to the real world scale. So as you can see on the z-axis, it is at 0.231 approximately, which is Let me just put it into the centimeters. So you can see on the z-axis it is approximately 23.1, which is actually accurate to the real world scale. And that's why, like, if I were to just try and copy it, you can see. So you need to make sure that your head is actually accurate to the real world scale, and because of that, this subsurface value 0.012 is like super important. And this is the subsurface value that I usually use for almost all the characters. You obviously can experiment with it if you really want to. Now, the second thing is, after the subsurface, by the way, I'm obviously just gonna go into the render viewport. I don't know why why I'm not doing it right now. Subsurface radius, you can see the color that I'm using. For green, it is 1, and for the for the red it is 1, for the green it is 0.35, and for the blue it is zero point 0.2. And it's the same for the subsurface radius, by the way. Both of these have the um, same values. And let me just add the HDR so that you can actually see how the color looks and how the shader looks. Now you can see increasing the subsurface actually makes him look like a bit weird, but subsurface radius also, if you were to increase it, it's just gonna do the same. And the values are basically similar in the subsurface color and the subsurface radius. So this is actually quite important. Subsurface IOR is, I think, default. Subsurface anisotropy is 1. I don't know what it does, but because it actually sounded cool, I put that into 1. And you can see the R is 1, the green is zero point 0.3, the blue is zero point 0.2. It's the same thing in subsurface radius. Surface anisotropy, I have no idea what it does, but I still have just increased it. Other than that, I don't think that I'm actually doing anything else. Everything else is at default. If you really want to, you can decrease the roughness. It is like totally up to you, because sometimes the skin does actually get a bit, a bit oily. So you can just decrease the roughness. But right now, I am only gonna be setting up the shader for the checking of the color that we are gonna be painting. So roughness and stuff doesn't really matter as much. The only thing that matters is the color. Transmission is obviously not something that we are gonna be using. I don't know why I'm increasing that. Yeah. So that's actually gonna be the final shader. You can just do that. And I think I've just searched the subsurface IOR and it was 1.55 on the Google. So I've just used the same similar value, and this is the base color that I feel like is gonna work best. Even though in the future I would actually change that, but right now I think this is what I've judged, and now I am just gonna be baking this color onto our mesh. So in order to do that, what you can do, you can actually just select the color, and you can just copy the hex value, which I am just gonna do raw. Oh, wait, before I do that, I realized the color of the sun is basically influencing our skin. So I need to get rid of all the colors. So I actually need to, remove all the saturation from the HDRI. But before I do that, I am actually adjusting the placement of the light by adding the mapping node. Mapping node, I really hope that you know all this stuff, by the way. This is something that almost all intermediates know. So I have added the mapping node, and by pressing Ctrl T, and just rotated the HDRI on the Z axis. Now I'm just gonna add the hue saturation node after the image, not after the shader. And now I'll just remove all the saturation, so there would be only black and white light. And that's what I'm gonna do now. So just gonna decrease the saturation to 0, so that there would be no influencing of any sort of lights in the color, and we can actually see the pure colors that we have painted. So yeah, I don't know why I'm not doing it. Okay, so I'm just gonna do it now. Okay, so as you can see, it was actually a huge difference. You can like clearly see the speck actually have gotten white, and now we are gonna be able to see the true colors. And yes, this is just gonna be the setup that we are gonna be using to start painting our mesh. Now we also need to bake it to the mesh. I don't know if I'm gonna do it in this video or in the next one. But yes, the color attribute, like the color that we have selected in the shader, needs to get baked onto our mesh so that we can actually start sculpting. Okay, so I am just doing a render first. I think this is to show you how the skin is looking, and I think it is a bit too bright, in my opinion. If I were to just compare him with the reference, I think he is a bit too bright right now. But wait, am I just gonna bake this color? I think I'm just gonna bake this color, even though right now I feel like that this color is a bit too bright. Even if I were to bake this color, I remember that I've actually adjusted the color, made it a bit darker, and then rebake it. So yes, you do obviously have the option. If even if you were to bake this color now, you always have the option to do it. Or maybe I'm not baking the color. Okay, okay. So I'm lowering down the value a bit, and then I'm just gonna do another render to see which color is basically working or not. And this color is obviously a bit more darker and a bit more closer to the likeness. So I think this color is the one that I'm gonna bake. I really don't remember, but yeah, I think this is the color that I am actually gonna be baking. And this one is definitely a bit better than the previous one. So as you can see, we have just compared it. And okay, so I think now we can actually bake this. As you can see, the color is at the emission. And now what I can do, I can just select the color and put it into the by the way, we are in the vertex paint mode, and I'll just set up the color. Now I can just press Shift K or set the vertex color to basically fill up the whole area. You don't need to bake it because baking obviously is going to take time. This is actually much more faster way of doing things. And now I can just come out of vertex paint mode and go into the sculpt mode to start, sculpting each and every single one of the maps, which in this case is gonna be the base color first. So yes, we are gonna be start doing the base color, and again it is not showing. So just select the paintbrush and click on your mesh once so that it could be seen. And yeah, now we can actually just start painting. So I'll see you in the next one.